Coming up next
my
on the Inherited
co-defendant, David
Podcast.
Jones, Babyfish, rest in peace. We went to trial, and also another one of our co-defendants, Cal Tongue, we went to trial and we lost. Me and Babyfish, being that we had the most bank robberies we was fighting, we ended up getting 84 years. Yeah, it was attempted murder, and it's crazy because I was at the house one day and one of the homeboys came and got me and said one of the homies was fighting around the corner with some older dudes. And so at that time, being I was fresh from the hood, I want to prove to these dudes that I belong here, you know, because that's what it's all about. A lot of people gang bang and do the things they do to prove to another man or another person something. But so he came and got me, and by me wanting to prove myself, he really was coming to get my pistol. The mindset to get out and rob banks, it was like, it wasn't no movies. It was just one of the homies got the game and gave the game to us. And so I missed the first wave, so when I got out,
It's like, I can't miss. I'm on that.
and the homie gave me the game, took me up under his wing, let's go. And once I started changing my mindset and my heart, that's when things started happening in my life. You know what I'm saying? Them talks with my auntie became more frequent. I started believing in myself. I started believing more that God was there and God was gonna find a way to help me get home.
Building a legacy, so watch how you step to me. You know it's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chillin', man. Building a legacy, so watch how you step to me. You know it's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chillin', man.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? You're now tuning into the Inherited Podcast. I hope y'all having a blessed day. Thank y'all for also keep coming back, tuning in and watching the Inherited Podcast. But today, we have another special guest, Mr. Eric McKenith, motivational speaker and at Youth Risk Prevention. So today, what we're going to do is, like per usual, get the backstory and get some real motivation. And I feel like this podcast here is going to be very important, one for our youth. So if you got a teen, a younger child, and if they're around you, if y'all watching it, try to bring them into the room, and I guarantee it's going to be a lot of gems and a lot of motivation is going to come out of this podcast. So again, hope y'all loving to tune in. So I'm letting him introduce himself and give him some background. So how you doing, brother?
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me. Eric McKenith, born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. So I'm 50, almost 50 years old. But I've been through some things.
Yes, sir.
I've been through some things. I recently was released from federal prison about 22 months ago, in which I did a 26-year sentence. And I'm just blessed to be home, man. I'm blessed to be home, and I'm out here in the communities now just doing the work and speaking to young men and even young women, you know, about the consequences of certain lifestyles, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we get too deep into it, before I start the pod, right, just to do an icebreaker, okay, I'm going to pick a card from this deck. Okay. I don't know what it's going to say. Unless it got mixed back up, then I know one, but if it is, I'm going to throw it out. But it's going to be a question on this deck. Nothing crazy or whatnot. So we both going to answer it, and you'll go first. I'm just going to pick one.
Okay.
And we going to see what it say, man. We going to see what it say. So let's see. All right. Wow, this is crazy. If you could undo one moment in your life, what would it be? That's a tough
Probably
one.
the day in which I started gang banging. If I can do that all over again, I would. And because, you know, a lot of us when we're young, we have the talent within us. We just don't tap into it.
Facts.
You know, and I used to love baseball. That was my first sport. And I always tell people, had I not started gang banging, I probably went to the major leagues. That's how good I was.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. For myself, let's see. If I could undo one moment in my life, what would it be? That's still kind of hard to answer. Of course, it's like you don't want to live with any regrets because everything we do set us up to where we are now today. So, but if I just had to choose, it'll probably be, and it may sound crazy, but probably going to college right after high school, knowing that it wasn't for me. But again, me going there, able to meet great people, built great relationships, but just knowing the fact that I was never a person of wanting to do school and stuff. It's not high school. I guess I got past it, but it was just, that just wasn't where I was at mentally at the time. But of course, growing up in the household, usually that's the usual path. High school, college, get a job. So I went and did it anyways. But again, I don't regret going, but I just feel like if I would have stepped into my entrepreneurial journey when I knew I wanted to, things would have been different. But again, I couldn't kind of really change that. But if I had to just answer that question, that's what it would be. But so that was actually a good question to start off this conversation. That's why I said, when I picked it, I'll say it was crazy because the fact that everybody be talking about is just like, you're going to be speaking on a lot of past things to where you may not have agreed with, and then where you end up to now. So, but just to get some backstory, right? So just take us back to young Eric, like growing up in your household, where you came from, like what was that like for you, family-wise, and just the things you were into. So just take us back to your origin story in the beginning. So how was that for you?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a single-parent household. My mother raised me, and, my father, he was in the military, so he wasn't around a lot, and he had already established a whole new family by the time I was born. And so my mother pretty much raised me in the Jordan projects in Los Angeles, Watts, California. And young as a young adolescent, I was pretty much, I was a mama's boy and spoiled to death because I was the only child, still the only child, and so my upbringing, it wasn't as bad as the normal child who's growing up with, 3 or 4 siblings in the house and they got to fight for shoes and food and all of that stuff. I'm not going to say it was all bad like that. However, growing up in that environment, especially in Watts, California, you're exposed to some things and you see a lot of things going around in the projects, But once again, I was privileged to where, being that I was the only child, my mother provided me almost everything that I wanted until I got old enough to want bigger and better things. You know what I'm saying? But childhood, like I say, I played baseball. I was good at it as a young man. And, it was really the ordinary, upbringing, so to speak, but until I started becoming infatuated by the streets, that's when everything started changing from normal to, abnormal behavior,
So once, what age were you when you really started, or how they say, jump off the porch, right? So when did you really start seeing, okay, this stuff is going on around me, my environment, who we all love to say, sometimes we are a product of our environment. And some people may agree and some may disagree, but I'm the one who agree, right? Absolutely. Just for me growing up, it was just, I had the opposite. I had both parents in the house, but it was like, not saying Pops was missing, but we was growing up in such of a way that we had to try to survive. It was just not the ordinary, you have both parents and it's just that wholesome household. It was just, all my siblings, I have 3 siblings, right? Everybody was out trying to get it and do what they were doing. So with me being the youngest, the baby, me going outside, that was I never wanted to be inside of the house. And because of that, I got exposed as well to some of the things, gang banging and seeing about all the drugs and this and that. So because I was never inside, it was just my environment where I was at, it heavily influenced me to do certain things that I probably either knew I shouldn't have done or if I didn't have to go through some kind of struggle, I probably wouldn't have ended up doing. But so for you, at what age was it to where that stuff kind of got a grasp onto you, and how do you think it transformed you at that age? So what was that? What was that process for you?
Well, I started just seeing things at 13 and 14 and becoming infatuated by the lifestyle. But it wasn't until I turned 15 that I actually, joined my neighborhood and was in the streets. Started hanging in the streets and banging and selling drugs and whatnot, but no sooner as I got put on the hood, I say probably like only 3 months later, I was already in jail. And,
Damn.
I was in juvenile hall fighting an attempted murder case, just that quick. So as soon as I jumped off the porch, that's how quick I was incarcerated.
So at that age, how that happened?
At that age,
God.
Right before I turned 16, I believe, I was in juvenile hall fighting attempted murder. And, you know, I end up spending altogether almost 2.5 years. I fought my case for 10 months, and then the other 12, 13 months, I was in a youth prison. It's called YA. CYA is our California Youth Authority, which is a prison for young men. And, you know, I was there and did my time there. And that's where I started really just turning up as far as gang banging, because it's like everybody there was gang related.
Yeah,
you know?
I can only imagine that.
So it was like, you gotta survive. You gotta fight. You know. So I went from there. Ended up getting out, and when I got out, I was around 18. And you know, coming home from doing time in youth authority, you come home like a young OG. Everybody respecting you, and you come out with the notoriety, and just, you know, the reputation, you know, for representing the hood in jail. You know, all senseless, all foolishness, but that was the culture.
Yeah,
that was the lifestyle. You know.
Yeah. So what do you think? I know you said growing up, like your mom raised you, right? And your dad was in the house. Well, was he ever there, or was it always you didn't?
He was never there. I spent time with him at his home occasionally, but I was supported by the military. The military gave me a check every month, you know, so that's really, and when it comes to him just being a father figure in my life, I didn't have that.
Do you think that kind of played a part as to why, like, either you were searching for something, or it was like, okay, you're the only child, so just imagine if you do have other siblings, you could have been in the house maybe a lot more with them playing this and that, but because it was just you, it was just like, I know, pretty sure mom had to go to work, and then you just left here to, hey, what I'm about to do, so let me go outside and get into this and that. But do you think not having your father there kind of led to a lot of what you went through, or was it just purely off of just, again, my environment and circumstance?
Well, partially, yeah, because like I always tell people, like, if you're growing up in a single-parent home, then you're really growing up in a broken home because it's not whole. It don't have both parents. So it's broken. And not having my father there, it enabled me to really learn things from a father figure, you know. Now, in regards to siblings, not having siblings is the excuse that I use to get in the streets and make the homies my siblings. You know what I'm saying? So that was the excuse I used. Like, I ain't got no brothers and sisters. I'm bored. I'm going outside. And then I started hanging with other guys in the neighborhood who were affiliated. You know what I'm saying? At first, I was affiliated by association. And then I became just, you know, a product of that environment. You know what I'm saying? Representing that neighborhood, you know? So, yeah. So, not having a father in your household definitely puts you at a disadvantage out the gate, in my opinion.
So, I know you say you was fighting a murder case at that age. Are you able to talk about what happened? Just to give as much backstory as you can?
Yeah, it was attempted murder. And it's crazy because I did a podcast with one of my homeboys about a month ago, and we was talking about an individual, and I told him to give him my number. And when he called me, he reminded me that case was about him. I had forgot what it was all about, but to just make a long story short, so to speak, I was at the house one day, and one of the homeboys came and got me and said one of the homies was fighting around the corner with some older dudes. And so at that time, being I was fresh from the hood, I want to prove to these dudes that I belong here, you know, because that's what it's all about. A lot of people gang bang and do the things they do to prove to another man or another person something, which is crazy now, looking back in hindsight. You don't have to prove yourself to nobody but yourself and God. But so he came and got me, and by me wanting to prove myself, he really was coming to get my pistol. I was like, nah, I'll be over there. So I jumped on my beach cruiser and rode over there. For those who know what a beach cruiser is, it's a bike.
Yeah, I had one growing up.
Yes, for sure. Jumped on my bike, went over there, and you know, I engaged the guys, and you know, one thing led to another, and I started firing rounds, and I chased them in the house, still firing rounds. fortunately, I'm thinking back now, fortunately, no one was killed. Fortunately, because it was babies in that house, and I feel bad about that, horrible. But fortunately, no one got hit. None of the babies got hurt, you know? And I can only imagine if something would have happened to one of them babies, I wouldn't be here today.
That's a fact. It's like stories like those. We got so many, like, and just speaking into this generation today, right? And again, I love listening to music and etc. But of course, at our age, we're mentally tough enough and mentally sane to know to separate entertainment from reality,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
But the youth today, it's as if they don't fear any consequences, but they're so quick to, like, for instance, what you just said you did to them. It seems normal to just say, okay, somebody got an issue, let me just go grab a pistol and go take care of this, and just whatever happens, it happens, just because they want to either, like you said, prove to their social group that, oh, I ain't no hoe, you know, I'm down to ride with the homies and stuff like that. But it's just, that mindset is just put upon our youth so much that it's just so toxic to where I want to know how to change it or how to help them out, but because the forces are against us, it's just so tough. So what do you feel about that, and how do you feel like, what is I don't know if there's a good answer or a key to do it, but what do you think could help out to try to change that mindset of just being influenced and just say, I'm doing this for this guy who probably don't care nothing about me, because if something go down, how many phone calls are you gonna get? Who put money on those books? Or who writing you a letter? Who's sending the kites and all this and that? So how do you feel about that, and how do you think it can be prevented?
Yeah, so first I gotta say that this era right now, these young men out there right now is on a whole different level, man. And one of the reasons I believe that they're so gun-ho and so quick to shoot is because it's like they feel hopeless right now, you know, and I don't think they're getting the love that we got, because even though I was in the streets way back when, I still got that love from my home, from my mother, from my cousins, and you know, but they're not getting that love, and I think that with that love missing and that lack of understanding missing, they get that mentality that I don't give a fuck. And once you get that I don't give a fuck mentality, then that's how you begin to live. And that's how they living out there. They don't care. They're reckless. They don't care about seniors. I remember we used to care about seniors. We used to care about kids. You know what I'm saying? They don't care no more. And so that's a big problem. And compound mental health with that, because I believe there's a lot of mental health going on in these communities, you know, because a lot of these young men are products of parents that were on drugs. So they come out the womb screwed up, you know, with mental health issues and other kind of issues. So I think that in order to, because this is a tough question in regards to how do we solve it, because I'm out there and I hate to think that there's no hope. I hate to think that we can't help them.
But it's tough though, right?
Them. But it's hard, man. So I try not to focus on how many. I just try to focus on whoever I can help, whoever I can save, no matter the number, you know, because you really can't put a number on it, because some of them just, and I hate to say it, I'm not going to say can't. Some of them don't want help.
Yeah.
Some of them don't want to change because they're so far gone in that illusion that this lifestyle is the end all be all.
Got them in a chokehold.
You know what I'm saying? Because of what they saying. And I don't want to blame the music, you know, but like you say, some people can't separate themselves from the lyrics. They can't just listen to the music and say, okay, that's just art. That's just entertainment. You know? They want to listen to the music, especially this drill music, and they
just about to say that.
and they want to go nuts.
Cause they say, oh, this is my slider music. I'm gonna put on some dirt when I'm ready to go on my missions and stuff. So they have those mindsets of this is the soundtrack to my life to go do the negative stuff I'm doing. But it's just like also, I don't know if you agree or not, I just feel like a big part of it, it starts at home with the parents. Because I see a whole...
Absolutely.
It's like nowadays, okay, you already don't get to see your child. If your child is in school, right, growing up, you wake up, if you even do this, getting ready for school, you send them off. For those 8 hours in that day, they're at school, you're at work. Once you get off and they get home from school, either you're prepping the home for dinner, this and that, and your kid, again, come home. If they're doing their homework, if not, they're outside. You're still not seeing them. Once they come back inside, I guarantee as a parent, especially if you're working hard, you tired, you ready to wind down and go to bed. And when their kids come inside, like how much attention are you actually giving them to speak into them, check on their mental health? Like, hey, son, daughter, how was your day? When they respond, so how did that make you feel? Just stuff like that. I'm not a parent myself, so it's like I'm not trying to speak as a parent, but it's just seeing what's going on. I feel as that part is missing to help the youth go on a straighter path instead of just, I want to be my child's friend, they best friend, I'm the cool parent. It's like, it's so much of that and less of, again, I still agree with, well, I not say I disagree. The whole soft parenting era, I get it. Like you approach your child with a sense of empathy and care, but spare the rod, spoil the child. I'm a firm believer in it. Like it's it teaches consequences. And I just feel as if kids, they don't know or understand what a true consequence is. Like if they don't know that, they're just gonna go out here and have to bump their heads and figure this stuff out on their own. Like I expressed to my friend, I think of ways is where I want to teach my kids when I have them what a consequence is, because I think that's the key to making a decision to doing X, Y, and Z outside of just influence and not wanting to look like the lame of the crew or the scary one or the nerd, but just saying like I say, I have just a scheme of I'm gonna grab a lighter for my child and light it up. I'm like, look, do you think this is hot or not? And depending on their response, it's like, okay, are you really the child got to touch this flame, or can you see and know that flame is hot? I don't got to touch it, so I'm gonna just move from there to show, okay, do you really got to know that to feel this consequence, or can you just psychologically understand it? But I just feel as if it starts at home. Absolutely. From the top of the food chain in your household, and prep them as much as you can, right? Because of course, once we're out in this environment, you can't control what's coming their way. For me, it was just that. My parents did the best they could. But once I went outside, it was a whole different world. Like, and I can explain to people to today, they wouldn't believe like some of the stories I would tell, like that was going on. Like if you weren't outside, you wouldn't know. It is so much that goes on in your neighborhood that just can influence you to join this gang, to steal this, let me go jack a car. And you as a child, you may feel this is just what's going on. This is the fun we have, but not knowing if you get caught by these adults, the consequences, jail time, absolutely, sometimes life in jail or this and that. But I just feel it starts at home. But again, and just bouncing back on your story, right? So I know you said you got out from the juvenile at 18? So
right before I turned 18, like 1 month before I turned 18. So I was 18.
That you was in there for a while. So just speak about if a youth is watching this, right? What was your experience like, for one, in the juvenile corrections department, and then post once you got out, what happened with you then on?
Yeah, so really, man, those juvenile halls, those correctional facilities for young men and adults, man, they're made to rehabilitate you, but they don't do that. They don't do that at all. And my experience in California Youth Authority, it was we used to call it gladiator school. You know, so you go there, you fight, you represent your neighborhood, and you come out just a harder gang member. You know what I'm saying? And that's the sad part, because we got to start catching these young men in these juvenile facilities. And this is something I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to get into these juvenile facilities. I teach a course at the DeKalb Juvenile Justice Center right now, at the courthouse, to young men that's on probation. But I'm trying to get into these juvenile halls because they need guys who's been there and done that to get in these juvenile halls and aware them of what's to come in their future. Because it became a cycle for me. Because soon as I got out of juvenile hall, within 3 months, I was in state prison. And the catch-22 to that was when I was in the juvenile system, I was going to adult court. That's where I was tried as in an adult court. So when I took my 3-year deal in adult court, they allowed me to do my time in juvenile facility. But at that same time, when I was sentenced, they gave me a state number along with my juvenile number. I never knew that until I violated. They were already preparing my future. They already knew that they had me, and it won't be long before I'll be in state prison. So they gave me both numbers that day that I got sentenced. And I didn't know that until I violated my juvenile parole, and they sent me straight to the penitentiary.
Jesus Christ, the system is so jacked up. And the part that you said about was impactful was the government built all these facilities, right, to rehabilitate. But everybody's story is just, there is just zero rehabilitation. It's just, and that's a way you can just understand this fact that it's all about that money. It's about, again, getting people inside of that soccer, because it's just, if you really want to see somebody do good, you can rehabilitate them. And again, I was in the military, right? And and when I went there, it changed me so much as far as learning that discipline, consistency, just that knowing, well, doubling down on what's right and from what's wrong. So and what the principles they stood on is, it works, but you just want to, you have to want to be able to want it to work. But in a juvenile hall in the prison, it just seems as if it's just just like you say, the gladiator school or a nursery or a daycare until, all right, we'll see y'all next year when y'all come back and this and that. And it just sucks the fact that nobody cares to really rehabilitate these people, because people can change, but they just need the guidance, the influence, and the right courage to help them change. Again, even though it may be not saying far off, but I think about it all the time. I would love to start a prison, but to actually have it, you come in here, you're going to get help. I get it. It may be state funding, this and that, but the metal beds, the one mattress, the dirty environments, what do you think is going to happen to a human being locked inside of those cages for all these years in that environment? So why not just, whether it's a level 1 or 2, give them a comfortable bed to sleep in, give them good food to eat, like actually letting them know I care about you and I want you to come out of here healed. Whether you come back or not, at least you know it's like, I experienced some kind of healing. I experienced some kind of change in this place, but it just baffles me to just know these state penitentiaries, they do not care.
And you know the crazy thing about it, not to cut you off.
No, you good.
Like, and in reality, a lot of, and I'm about to really just say something.
Go ahead,
people
man.
probably not even, they're gonna be like, you crazy after all that time you did, you said that. But when we're out there, because be honest, we out there living like savages. We out there committing animalistic, heinous crimes, and we out there just, you know what I'm saying, running amok. So therefore, when they lock us up, they put us in a cage, thin mattresses, you know, all that, really treating us like the animals that we were behaving as. You know what I'm saying? Now, is it right? No, it's not right. But one thing I definitely agree with you on is that they need to implement programs that's really going to rehabilitate us. You know what I'm saying? Because if you want to break us from our animalistic ways or whatnot, you don't treat us like an animal, right? Because we're going to come out more aggressive.
And a bigger one.
Because of how you guys then caged us in. It's only a few men that come out of prison. Well, I'm going to say more than a few, but compared to the numbers, it's just a few of us that come out here and change our lives because we wanted to change. Not because the system changed us, not because they rehabilitated us. We rehabilitated ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We changed ourselves. So no, it ain't no rehabilitation in these systems, in these prisons. We got to want to help and want to change ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And for family members that's in society and got loved ones that's locked up, you all could be a part of that change.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? My auntie was a great part of my change because she continued to believe in me. I originally had 84 years when I went to the feds. I know we didn't even talk about that
you're going to
yet.
get to that.
You know what I'm saying? But my auntie was that person that constantly and continued to believe in me and help me believe in myself. Believe that it wasn't over, that I can, still accomplish things in life. You know what I'm saying? So family members definitely gonna have to love on their loved ones when they're in prison. Because a lot of family members be like, man, I ain't got time. I told you when he was, out there running them streets. But even if it's just a letter, even if it's just accepting a phone call, because when you don't do that, you harden their hearts. You harden that heart, and they become institutionalized. So now they're in there thinking about other ways to commit crimes when they come home, if they come home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like, so do you feel as if, like, just amounts to what you just said, when they think about committing more crimes when they come home, do you think some people are really just like, regular society has nothing for me, so my new society is jail or prison, so let me, no matter what, I've built so much of a life here, other gang members here, you think they really are aiming to get back in there as fast as they can sometimes?
I like that you asked that question because there are convicts, ex-cons, or whatever you want to call them, that they're lost when they're out here. Their comfort zone is in prison. So a lot of them, they might not intentionally go right back, but subconsciously they're already on their way back because they're still have the same behavior traits, still doing the same things, committing the same crimes, But I didn't heard stories about brothers coming back and, like, I'm back home. This is my home.
You saying they coming back to prison?
Yeah, when they come back to prison, this is my home. They comfortable like that. You know what I'm saying? Because they become so far institutionalized that when they get out here, they can't function out here. This right here is abnormal. The free world is abnormal to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why it's important to love on your loved ones. It's important for men that's incarcerated to stay in communication with this outside world. That's the only reason why I survived, and I'm able to be here on your podcast with you and talk to you and have a sane mind in doing so. You know what I'm saying? Because I continued to tap into the free world when I was in prison. I didn't become institutionalized. I didn't become hard at heart. You know what I'm saying? And I continue to read and I continue to grow mentally, spiritually. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's about.
Yeah, that's a key part. And that's that growth part, man. It's like, again, if you don't have that support, it's all about that will you have inside of you to just something snap and say, hey, man, this ain't it. But it's very hard to purge that out of you when you just don't have the resources and support, like you said. So what was your support system like going through your juvenile stage and prior to you going back in at 18? So was it just your aunt, or you had multiple avenues?
Well, during that course, it was just my mother. My mother when I was in juvenile. And of course, I had a few friends that were writing me from time to time. I've always had people in my life. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I went from juvenile to state prison. I had people in my life in state prison. I did 18 months in state prison. And, but the thing about juvenile hall and state prison, I wasn't ready to change. I still had that mindset that I'm representing the hood. I'm finna get out here gangbang. I'm finna get out here and be the man in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Even when I got out of state prison, the homeboys was passing and robbing banks. I'm like, I'm finna get out and I'm finna pass and I'm finna rob some banks. So I wasn't ready to change. My mindset was on doing wrong and how to get better at doing wrong instead of how to get better as a human being, as a man. You know what I'm saying? My priorities was all screwed up back then.
That's what. So what do you think? like to have that you are locked up, right? But to still have that mindset of when I get out, this is I see how I'm living in here, and I see it is I gotta quote unquote fight for my life every day or whatever. But what do you think made you just want to still not care about that and to get out and just say, hey, back to the usual, back to square one? Like, what was was it something missing? Was it just the lack of love? But because that's to the average person, right, who doesn't care about like mental stability or whatever, they may just feel as if, bro, that sounds crazy as hell. Like, why would you want to do that? But there's something behind it, whether we can figure it out or not. But for you, what do you think it was? So you just didn't give a damn and say, when I get out, I'm still on this type of I'm on this time right now. What do you think it was?
You just took the words out of my mouth, though. It was insanity. It was crazy.
Shit, man.
It was crazy. Because when I look back, I asked myself sometimes, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
The hell were you thinking? You know what I'm saying? And I would probably say that the time that I received prior to going to the feds was really a slap on the wrist. To a person that's crazy, really, because 1-2 days is a lot of time. Like right now, I can't stand a day or two in prison. But the way our minds are programmed when we're in them environments, it's like 2 years, 5 years is not a lot of time. So you know what I'm saying? Even when I was in the feds, if you had anything under 20 years, that was love. Shit. That's the insanity of the mindset of people, of criminals. You understand what I'm saying?
That's wild, bro.
And the system has programmed us in a way to where when they giving us these 20s and these 10s, we're okay with that.
Yeah. Compared to somebody getting, like you say, a 60 or 80.
Yes, because they giving away hundreds of years now.
Shit, man.
And I'm going to tell you how much time that I had got in the feds originally.
Yeah, so let's get to that, right? So after, when you got out at 18, you went back to prison. Is this when you got that time, or is this before that?
I got 18 months in state prison.
So what happened then that lands you back in prison for those 18 months?
I violated my juvenile parole.
Okay.
I violated my juvenile parole. They gave me a straight year, got into the state prison, screwing up, messing up, and
while you was in there?
That year into 18 months.
Okay.
Yes, I got an additional 6 months from just, misbehaving and acting a damn fool.
So when you got out after that, so what was life like there in between that gap before you went back again and got sentenced for the long period of time?
Yeah, so like I said, when I was in state, I was calling home and the homies was passing and hitting banks and doing all kind of things, partying and, driving nice cars and, so I'm thinking like, I'm finna get out there and get
that FOMO fear missing out.
I'm finna get out there, man. And then I already had my guy, he resting in peace now, my co-defendant, my best friend, David Jones. He already told me, like, when you get out, it's going down. So I was already ready to get out and pass. And within 2 weeks, I was passing. I was running up in shit.
Sheesh.
Yeah, and that lasted 10 months. I stayed out 10 months, and the feds came knocking on my door.
For something you had done within them 10 months? Or something prior?
Nah, for that 10-month stretch.
And so you really didn't even get to experience just the freedom of being like 10 months. That's not a long time. Well, of course, as a child, a 10-month span, that's probably long as hell. But as an adult, just looking back, that ain't no time at all.
No. And then especially come from staying out 2.5 months, almost 3 months from juvenile and going to state prison. Then getting out of state prison and staying out 10 months. It's like, that. Yeah. Again, that's insane, but the lifestyle that I chose caused me to get caught up into that cycle of going to prison. But that time, the feds said, you know what, we finna lay you down.
So what happened there? So if you can talk about that, what led them to pick you back up? Now, how did that sentencing go? and then express as far as the time you got. Because again, if somebody is listening, just listen to this story, because it's, if you want to get caught up in this, I mean, so be it. But you got resources like Eric here to help prevent a lot of what y'all may be going through. So just express that and what happened.
Absolutely. So, you know, still not changing my mindset. See, the mindset is everything. And if you don't change your mindset, then you continue to do the same things. And when you still continue doing the same things, the same behaviors, the same results, you're going to get the same results. So not changing my mindset, I end up getting out there, game banging, but then I added bank robbery to my repertoire. And I started passing and robbing banks. And eventually, whenever you're doing anything wrong, it's gonna come back to you. I thought I was slick as oil. I thought because I wasn't getting caught in the act of anything that I was good, you know. However, they came knocking on my door, because eventually, and this is what a lot of people don't realize, eventually somebody gonna tell on you.
Yeah.
And in this day of time, they got cameras everywhere, so there's nothing you can do that they don't know about. And if they ain't came and got you yet, that's just because they ain't trying to get you yet.
They building that case.
They building that case. That's what they failed to realize. And that's what the feds did with us. They tried to build the case and they tried to get us in the act, but they never could catch us in the act. So they end up coming to get us, you know. And me and my co-defendant, David Jones, Baby Fish, rest in peace, we went to trial. And also another one of our co-defendants, Cal Tongue, we went to trial and we lost. Me and Baby Fish, being that we had the most bank robberies we was fighting, we ended up getting 84 years. My other homeboy, Cal Tongue, he ended up getting 10 or 12, but he only got found guilty of one robbery. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they laid us down, man. I was just before I turned 22 when the feds locked me up.
Young.
And David was just before he turned 21, I believe. So we was both young. And the crazy thing about it is I had already been in prison. I had already been in youth authority, but David had never done any time, and they still gave him 84 years.
God.
And we didn't even kill nobody. But at the time we got sentenced, they sentenced us to 65 years on gun charges, which is called 924Cs, where you get 5 years for the first one and then 20. So they stacked the gun charges on us, and in 95 they can do that. So we got 65 years just for having a firearm in the commission of a crime. Then 14 years for the actual bank robberies, and then 5 years for conspiracy. So they enhanced us for the firearms, gave us more time than the actual bank robberies.
It's just so wild how the system, even though, like, okay, y'all did what y'all did, and of course, those consequences are coming, but it's just how they throwing out these calendars and stuff at people. Like, I got a friend I grew up with, right? He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they would think they were the guy he was with. They were on like carjacking somebody, but of course they had a gun on them. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got killed. None of that. It was I can't just play it off as a simple, but it was a car robbery, a carjacking. But he got sentenced to 35 years, and he was just there to do it. And it's just seeming like you can kill somebody and sometimes get less time than that.
Yes.
And it's I don't understand it as far as how the system is made up and how it works to just say, hey, he's a cold-blooded murderer. Let's just give him 5 to 10 or whatever. But these guys here, they were just committing crimes, but giving out 85 years. So before that, so just back to the bank robberies, right? How did you get into, of course, outside of the gang life and the banging, that mindset of let's go rob a bank? What prompted that, and what, like, do you because people watch movies and get inspired and want to live that life. You had to plan for it, make a scheme, this and that, or y'all just like, and we on a mission, we on go, let's hit this bank. So what is that mindset to want to go do that, and how did it work out?
And you know what's crazy? It wasn't even movies that made us get into robbing banks. You know, I remember right before I went to state prison, I had got word that one of the homies had passed, and he was like, "Look, I got a new wave, and you know we gonna start passing on these banks." Somebody gave him the game, and so I was supposed to go out with them on a Monday, but I ended up catching my violation on the Friday.
Damn.
So I wasn't able to go out. But the crazy thing about it is, so I'm very spiritual. I believe in God.
Same, yes, sir.
And even though my relationship back then wasn't strong with God, but God was always speaking to me or doing things to prevent me from really getting in the trouble that I got in. But I didn't listen. When God gave me that violation in state prison, he was telling me then, stay away from that. Because I was supposed to go out that Monday. I got locked up that Friday. So I didn't listen.
Yeah.
I got out, started robbing banks, and got banged out 84 years. But he was telling me,
the whole
but I
time.
didn't even listen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the mindset to get out and rob banks, it was like, it wasn't no movies. It was just one of the homies got the game and gave the game to us. And so I missed the first wave. So when I got out,
It's like, I can't miss. I'm on that.
and the homie gave me the game, took me up under his wing, let's go. You know what I'm saying? And we started passing. And a lot of people say that's crazy, and it is crazy. That's why we got all that time, really, because they letting us know, like, okay, you got the audacity to run up in our shit.
Yeah, that shit is wild.
Here, hold this, take this. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not normal.
Yeah.
The behaviors those behaviors is not normal. That mindset is not normal. It's insane. And we want to complain when they bang us out, but if the tables was turned, what would you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you are a threat. If you got enough balls, enough courage to run up in a government facility, then you're a threat.
Yeah, you should be man enough to sit down.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, did I deserve the time that I received? Did David deserve the time that he received? No, we didn't. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 20 would have taught us a lesson. I knew, or I learned my lesson after the 10th year. After the 10th year, I was like, like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until my 12th year that I really started changing my mindset. You know? And once I started changing my mindset and my heart, that's when things started happening in my life. You know what I'm saying? Them talks with my auntie became more frequent. I started believing in myself. I started believing more that God was there and God was going to find a way to help me get home. And once that happened, once everything started coming together, bro, one thing for certain, God knows your heart.
Yes, sir. Know that.
You know what I'm saying? And once he realized that I was ready, because that's another thing. God ain't gonna change your life unless he feels you're ready.
Man, you can say that again. That's
You
a
feel
fact.
me? And once he realized I was ready, he started testing me and he seen that I was ready. That's when in 2018, my faith changed. They changed the law.
Not to cut you off, but it's like I express to people sometimes when they just always on a banter of like, man, I want this success, I want this, I want this, I want that. But why would, if you're a believer in Christ, God, or whomever God you may believe in, but just speaking on just Jesus Christ and God, right? Why would he put you in a position of unreadiness and expose you to what you're praying for every day and you're not ready? Because it can turn you into a monster. It can it expose who you really are in your mindset at that time, times 10. Excuse me, once you reach this level of quote unquote success or financial success. So why would he do that to you, knowing he's a loving God, you're his child? Why would he put you in that position? So just knowing the fact that he's not gonna give it to you until you're ready. It's not that he don't think you deserve it or you're not worthy of it. As a people, we gotta really just sit down and evaluate ourselves and understand, like, am I really ready for what I'm praying for? I want 1 million, but how am I stored in this 1,000? How am I stored in 500? But I'm praying for all this major change and this and that. But just sit down and self-reflect, like, if I woke up tomorrow and I got everything I'm asking for, will I fly like a bird or will I fold? So it's just that preparedness and that readiness. Absolutely. What you said about that, it's the truth, man. You just gotta sit down and reevaluate, but still keep that faith and keep praying. But God knows what He's doing. It may take time, but He knows what He's doing, man.
Absolutely.
It's wild.
And you got to be honest with yourself too.
Yes.
Man. You got to be honest. You can be mad all you want, but if you're honest with yourself, then you really can't be mad. You understand what I'm saying? Because you know, and I know I wasn't ready when I wanted to get out. You know, because if I would have got out 10 years prior, I probably went back to the hood. Yeah. And been the man in the hood. After doing what? It would have been 14, 15 years at that time. Yeah. You the man.
Yeah, you done got that repertoire and everything right then.
I done went to the hood, probably ended up getting smoked, or probably been back in prison. I wasn't ready. So fast forward to 2021 or 2018 when the laws changed, I was ready. I was ready. And the crazy thing about it is, so they changed the 924C statute within that First Step Act that Van Jones and a few other groups came together. They was fighting for the crack law at first. Donald Trump ended up signing off on it. So, and I say Donald Trump name just to say he signed off on it. Now look where he's at now. You know what I'm saying?
And yeah.
Where he's fighting. And not only that, but his team is saying, oh, the system is not fair. So Steve Harvey said something the other day on the radio that was so true. The system is only not fair when it's against you. Yeah. But we've been telling y'all the system has been unfair. You know what I'm saying? But so when he signed off on the First Step Act, that changed my fate. That ended up getting my sentence reduced from 84 years to 30 years. And you do like roughly like 26 off of that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all about percentage. Yeah. So, you know, but that was the right timing. Because now I come home and I don't go back to the hood. I come here to Atlanta, Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Because my mindset changed. My heart changed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That life is no longer me. I had really cleansed myself from that lifestyle. And it took time. And it started in 2012.
That's a long time.
It started in 2012. I didn't get out until 2021. But it was a process because I had been so damaged. I had been so like tainted, and you know what I'm saying, with that lifestyle. So it took that long. When you live in and walk in a certain way for so long, it takes even longer to get it out of your system. You know what I'm saying? And become back to the person that you innately are. I always tell people, like, when I was in the streets, when I was gangbanging, I was Lil Fishbone, right? But I became Little Fishbone because I practiced being Little Fishbone. I practiced committing crimes and doing the things that the homies was doing, but that wasn't innately me. Yeah. I was really a good kid. And now I'm so happy to be Eric again. Eric is that good beautiful kid. Eric is that humble being. Eric is what you see today. Eric is the guy that's in the communities walking in his purpose. You know what I'm saying? And you said something earlier, and in regards to change, I'm living proof that you could change. But I didn't change to somebody different. I just changed back to the person I was supposed to be.
Yes, sir. It was always in there.
Absolutely.
It wasn't going nowhere. It's just the decisions we make can make us believe sometimes, no, this is who I'm supposed to be. This life here is me. But at the end of the day, when you sit back and have that self-awareness, and again, like I say, sit yourself down, look in the mirror, you know who you are. You know what you used to love growing up. You know your spirit, but we can just be derailed sometimes and forget our identity. But again, going back to Christ, you will find your identity in that once again. So just taking that period of just self-reflection and focusing on mental health, focusing on self-care, it's very important. One, not just speaking on to be singling people out as men, right? Our responsibilities sometimes are so grave. We gotta pay attention to our mental health and just who we are on the inside, because we're here for a strong purpose, right? And it's the big part is you got to be tough up here because this is where everything starts. Your thoughts, your actions, and it processes everywhere else. So taking care of that is very much key, man. I just wish that'd be expressed more in society and in these mediums of how we receive information of just do the self-help. And life can be about having fun and enjoying yourself, but what's the point if you're not wholesome in the inside, or if you're not, if you're a broken person? That's why you may see a lot of people get success, but they're committing suicide. They're not happy inside. So no dollar amount or no notoriety can just overdo your personal well-being, your mental well-being. So just going through that process of personal development and change, absolutely, I'm a big advocate for that because it's myself. I wasn't always this person. I mean, of course, like I said in the beginning, but life changed me. Things happen, but just knowing like I'm here built for a bigger purpose. I'm here for greater things. Let me just sit down and focus on self. Let me just block out all the distractions and just say, let me pick up more books and read. Let me sit here and work on my walk for God and grow that. Of course, it may not be perfect now, but at least just taking the initiative to do it. That's key, man. That's key. But not to bounce on that a lot. But again, that your life and what you've been through, you could have given up so many times. You could have just said, you know what, this is who I am. I'm gonna continue to do this. But you actually took those steps to become a better man. So prior to getting out of prison from that long sentence that they're giving you, what steps did you take to outside of your mindset being changed while you was in there? What step did you take to just double down on when you got out to get you on the path that you are on now, as far as giving back to the youth, speaking to the youth? So what was that like for you?
So prior to getting out, I was doing a lot of reading, meditating, and like you said, just constantly just working on my inner being, you know what I'm saying? Working on my mental and my spiritual. But to be honest, it's like being that I've received the great blessing that I received from God, I have no choice but to give back, to walk in my purpose. You know what I'm saying? I have no choice. And briefly, one of my prayers when I was in prison, I remember it was right after I started just changing my mindset and stuff. I prayed to God that I'm able to go back to my church home one day. And I visualized going back to my church, and that I was baptized in Watts, California, and to just speak to him. And in 2022, January, I was able to go to that church home and speak to him.
That's a blessing.
And so now back to your question in regards to what made me just want to get out and help is because I have no choice. You know what I'm saying? I found my purpose. Now, it took me a minute to start because when I first got out of prison, I had to relearn society, today's society. I had to learn the cell phones of this era. You know, I had to learn just self-checkout at the grocery store and, you know, all the passwords you got to use when you get in apps. And I had to learn so much to where, okay, let me learn these things, let me get myself together, then I can help someone else. So it was only probably 6 to 8 months ago that I really started getting more serious about the work that I'm doing. And what I mean by getting serious, at first I was speaking here and there, but now I'm actually involved in some things. I got 3 mentees right now that I mentor. I'm teaching a course at the DeKalb Juvenile Justice Center on anger management to young men that's on probation. I'm working on my own curriculum. I've been presented with an opportunity to bring forth my own curriculum at the DeKalb Juvenile Justice Center, as well as Fulton County. You know, so I'm working on that right now. Just really just being there to speak to them, to teach them as much as I can. So yeah, to answer your question again, I just didn't have no choice. When God gives you a purpose, then
you gotta walk in it.
You gotta walk in it. You know, and He's been blessing me though. Since I started walking in my purpose, he's been blessing me with different opportunities. Look how I'm blessed to be on your podcast, and we didn't know each other
at all,
but God worked through other people that we know to bring us together because of the purpose, because of our hearts and what we're trying to do in regards to the at-risk youth. Or I don't even like calling them at-risk youth. They youth with promise.
Yeah,
because all of them have promise. It's just about men like us bringing it out of them. You know, just sparking something within them to turn it around and you know, start living and going after their dreams and their goals, giving them new hope and new vision. Just a spark. It just take a spark. And I hope today, by them listening, that we're sparking, you know, putting that spark in as many as we can.
That's the goal. And I feel, like you said earlier, we may not be able to touch the world in the masses, but as long as you can change the heart and the mindset of one person, not saying it's good enough, but if you can change one, that one may be the one to change millions. But you just got to get into the brain of just somebody and just help them to that switch gonna click. But like we get sometimes it's even with therapy. I go to therapy and get help. Just hearing somebody speak into you and ask you certain questions, that's what you need sometimes, because you may not be in a mental state of saying, I can conjure up these ideas or change, but somebody asking you that one thing and just boom, like, oh man, that's true. And from there, it's off to the races for change, man. But again, that's the whole purpose of course, like with this podcast, right? So with Inherited, I'm building upon legacy, inheritance, consistency, and discipline, right? And I just feel like we are all here for a purpose, and whatever we're doing is bigger than us. Like we have to leave behind something to the youth and the future generations to help them change. Like the whole getting out of mud narrative it sounds cool, but let's kind of change that and just allow them to have a foundation to build off of. We're starting from zero, generation after generation after generation. It doesn't help us at all to do that. So let's leave behind the mindset of build something for your kids. Pass down more than money. Pass down wisdom, knowledge, understanding, love, courage. Like all of that is included in inheritance and a legacy, right? So we just got to think about what we're doing and what we're saying and who we're doing it for. Like we can't die with everything we possess. It's about who's coming up below us. The world gonna keep, once we gone, this thing gonna keep going. Oh, absolutely. It's gonna keep going. So we gotta just play our role and be responsible in doing that for the youth. But before we do get up out of here, right? Again, a kid, a young man, a young female even may be watching. So, and not to just step back, but I like for you to just to leave them with the word of motivation and wisdom. But just I want them to get the real truth and the real grit, and so maybe they can see and open up. So can you just explain to them before you give them the advice? What was prison like? What is it really like in there? So they can not just think this is just, I'll be cool. So just and talk to them. Just explain to them what it's like. And after that, just get somebody an encouraging word to help try to prevent them from going and ruining their life.
I'm going to tell you firsthand, like prison is nowhere you want to go. You know, you see it glamorized. You see the people, you know, getting out of prison and representing that false, like, you know, sense of notoriety, or you got stripes because you've been to the pen, but they don't really tell you the real on what goes on in prison. It's by the grace of God that I survived prison, but I lost a very close friend of mine who went to prison with me, David Jones, Baby Fish. He was murdered in 2006, December. Murdered because of a riot we had in prison. He didn't make it home. And so you thinking you want to go to prison? Everybody ain't guaranteed to come home from prison. Everybody ain't as blessed as I am to come home and carry on a life after prison, you know? So my advice to you, man, I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you one thing, that lifestyle, being in the streets, doing wrong, out there committing crimes, gang banging, all of that, it only leads to two things: death or prison. So, you know, and going forward, I just want to say, in each and every one of us, there's something, there's a talent, there's a gift. You may not know that talent or gift right now, but just believe that there is a talent and gift inside of you. And if you can just tap into it, if your family members can help you to discover that, if you just pray about it, ask God to reveal it to you, it's in there. And I guarantee you, once you realize it and you begin to just move towards that and move forward with your gift and your talent, you can find success. Your success don't have to come trying to be in the streets, because that's not success. No matter how much money you make today, it can be gone tomorrow because it's not accomplished or gained the right way. You know, I thought I was the man. I was robbing banks, had a lot of money. But I woke up one morning and I didn't have none of it. And I was in a cold cell. So grind hard, but grind the right way. Figure out your talent, figure out your gift, and proceed that way.
That's powerful, dog. I hope if you were listening to that, if whether you're a parent or you may have kids, pass that message on to them. And if you are a kid right now or a teenager, you listen to that, listen to what he just told you, all right? There was a lot of power in that message, but take that into your heart and move forward. But before we do leave, if you have any announcements or anything you want to just talk about that you got coming up, just you can express that now, and also just tell everybody where they can find you, websites, social media, and stuff of that nature as well.
Absolutely. Well, you know, my foundation is coming, The Imperfect Gentleman, and within that foundation, we're going to be providing young men and young women with resources and a lot of opportunities. So stay tuned for that. The Imperfect Gentleman Foundation. You can check me out on The Imperfect Gentleman on IG, and on that page. Whenever the foundation is up and running, you'll have information on that. So it's The Imperfect Gentleman or The Imperfect Gentleman, and that's my IG. So just stay tuned.
Yes, sir. But again, y'all, if y'all tune in, appreciate you guys. You can also find this podcast at Inherited. That's NHERITD podcast on social media platforms, and also follow the main platform at Inherited. Again, that is NHERITD. You can find me on social media at Sir Gates BC, SRRGATESBC. And once again, you guys, this is the Inherited Podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. I really enjoyed this convo, man. I know for a fact somebody gonna gain some value from it. It was a pleasure having you here, and thank you for pulling up, man.
Man, thank you for having me. It's definitely an honor to be here, bro.
Yes, sir. So y'all have a good one. Until next time. Yeah, man.
Yo, that was, man, thank you.
That was powerful, man.